Hello everybody and welcome to Secrets of the Real Secret Service. My name is Kevin Smith and I will be interviewing Duane and Val, who were with the ISSS, International Secret Service Supervision, as they continue telling their stories of over 50 years in this ongoing new series, as they are both here to help save this planet Earth. And now, Secrets of the Real Secret Service Episode 3. Welcome, Duane and Val.
Yes, hello, Kevin. Yes, we're here, and like you said about the stories we tell, etc., and we tell some good stories here, and we're making it interesting. Val and I, we go over a lot. We watch a lot of documentaries. We put things together as the present day is going here, and with the situations in the world, things are constantly heating up, and we're simply providing more options for people to make better choices. And so starting off on the earth here, so today I want to talk a little bit about the U.S. Constitution as a reference for many people in the United States, etc., and even around the world. So there's a lot of problems in the world that are taking place, a lot of situations, and people are being forced against their will, etc. So this is a preparedness to prepare for what's coming, because this has all been planned, as I said. As Val and I were in the Secret Service, we saw this, we saw the planning of all of this, and there's a lot more coming. So one of the better references in the United States is the Constitution. And I like the idea of Sheriff Mack as example, because the sheriffs have their own position in their counties or states, however it's done. And they're a good reference if they are an oath taker. In other words, that they swore to uphold the U.S. Constitution, the laws of the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, etc., for people to have the choice instead of being forced in by the governments to decide for people's lives. So this becomes a big challenge for everybody here. So anyone here in the United States and abroad, anywhere, etc., because right now we're in Mexico, we're doing projects here, self-sustaining communities, etc. And so we're still, the reference is still the United States. We're still part of the United States from Southern California. So I suggest that if people need some help and reference, not just look to the government in the 6 o'clock news, because that's really not going to work. Even though it may make you feel good for a while, things will continually be exposed as time goes on here with what's being pressured upon people. So take a look at that. And again, everybody needs help. People can read the Constitution, but they don't know what to do. So the sheriffs are a good reference if you have a constitutional sheriff, or talk to the sheriffs and see if they will be a constitutional sheriff. Myself, at age 19, when I got into the Secret Service, the first parts of it, there's many parts that, and little by little, we'll go over here, over this, on these episodes. I too swore that oath. Anyone that holds public office swears the oath of the Constitution, just like people see on TV when they see the president up there being sworn in. He swears to uphold the U.S. Constitution. That's it. But as we've seen, these people get into office and then they just start making all kinds of agendas and doing whatever they want and causing a lot of trouble and havoc and deaths around the world, destroying the environment, etc. It really doesn't seem to make sense. I always refer to the birds because they're wonderful. And do they do any of this, or any of the animals, etc.? Do they do any of this? But their environment's being destroyed constantly. So there's a lot to go over. There's a lot to understand here. And so again, it's a matter of the right of choice. Also, what's implied with this is liberty, but then again, I don't see where people are going to be totally liberated from all this that's going on. It's better that they become more aware and surpass all of that altogether, because even the constitutional position is very, very, very limited on this physical world, because still anything can happen, like in Australia and other countries where there's huge lockdowns and people are being forced against their will every single moment, every move they make. In some areas it's like that. And there are some governors or whatever in the United States that do comply and do see the rights of individuals to make the choice. But then there's a lot of them that don't, that are bought off and told what to do because there's a profit in for them, etc. So we have a lot going on, a lot of challenges in this world. It's not that we have all the answers, but we show people how to get their own answers from the real side, and singing the NUUU, etc., and going with RealBazaar and the real guides. That's your best bet to learn to get your own answers, to learn to become more aware of the real you that operates 5 bodies in creation. But while we're on the earth, we all need help. And so, again, the Constitution, the constitutional sheriffs, etc. This is a very good reference to start with and add to, a person being creative and figuring this out for themselves.
Sheriff Mack has stated that the Constitution basically was there to limit the powers of each department and to not create something that they had with the monarchies in Europe, is to basically create a situation where the federal government doesn't have the power to mandate certain things. So people don't really see that the original intent of the Constitution, at least that's what we're told, is to basically the balance of power, so nobody, so we don't get the dictatorship and the tyranny that could happen or is happening.
Okay, and I wanted to ask Duane, a very common question that would be raised by most individuals in regards to this, as it pertains in regards to the destruction of the planet. A lot of people would ask, why is it that the controllers wish to destroy the planet, their motivation for doing so? And the second part of the question would be, a lot of people also have the contention that if they are terminated through depopulation, that they simply leave the physical vehicle and the physical level, and they are then liberated from the controllers' clutches. And as we know, this is not so.
Let me just first, and then remind me of the question, what Val was saying. Again, the original idea of the United States was to for people to go to a new place and to leave behind the oppression of the monarchy, etc. Of course, that's a cute story, isn't it? But that's just a story, and that's what people have been told. But actually what happened is that was a setup to get people over here and to confront the situations, especially with the indigenous people, and eventually help eradicate a lot of them, which is all taken place. There's no coincidence, etc. An establishment becomes known, etc., and it does, and it's called the United States government, etc. And so this was all a plan, and using the United States as a takeover country, and that's what it is now, but most people don't see that. And so the idea that many people use of the shadow government, yes, well, that's what the DC corporation is. It's a shadow government, and behind that shadow is the monarchy. that rules all of this. So the first part of your question was basically, why are the world controllers doing all this destruction, etc.? Well, realistically, with my experience that I've had gone through this, multi-dimensions, etc., what I see is that because of myself, I've decided to confront this and write the books, and with Rebazar and the Real Guides, they've decided to back this, etc. So the idea is that on a huge scale through all of creation, we are promoting the reality of becoming more aware. And the Kalam God and all the little minions in different areas, different dimensions, and down to the earth, the monarchy that is religious and governmental, etc. They don't like that. They don't like it at all. And they see what's going on. That's the real side of it, okay? Many people think it's money and power. Well, there's that aspect of it. But overall, they don't like what we're doing here. We're waking people up like never before for the first time. And so actually, what they've always done is they've always been destroyers, just like the Queen of Orion that we put in the Phantom Zone years ago. She was actually behind all of this too, beyond the monarchy altogether. The monarchy is a bunch of little squeaks here. That's all they are. And it's really the reptilians, and it was the Queen of Orion, etc. And she still has quite a few clones out there that she had created. But the original queen is in the Phantom Zone, and her two children, Enlil and Enki, they're around too, know them very well, and we had agreements. Well, so far they haven't lived up to their agreements, and so can't keep track of them on the real side altogether, but Rebazar and the boys do. And so we'll see what's to come about from all that's taking place. But again, the world controllers, the idea is that if we can't have it, you can't have it either. And as I said, destruction is a way of life with them. It's actually a tradition, yes. And actually, most traditions that people know are self-imploding. They reach their peak and then they become self-imploding. Everything does, and so we're at that moment to where they're just turning up the heat, and they're not concerned about the earth or the body count or anything, because they know that these individuals that are being destroyed, they will control them from the astral realm. So when people pass over, no matter what they believe, especially if they believe in gods or whatever, well, their god is the Kalam god, etc. And he controls the earth, and he's the one doing all this, actually. And but people can't see that because it's veiled. So people look to the stories and the idea of belief, etc. Yeah, that's what they look to. So here or there, until they surpass creation altogether, they are actually trapped in it. They are actually trapped in this matrix of creation, this cyberspace, which they've created many cyberspace dimensions besides the natural dimensions that already exist in creation. So it's a lot of sorting out, and it's becoming more aware to recognize all of this. So the challenge with everybody here is they've been raised and indoctrinated through schooling to be literalized, and they have that challenge thinking that they know something when actually, no, they don't. It actually works against you. And so through all of this, yes, not only is the earth being destroyed, but the galaxies and creation altogether is imploding, unless there is enough agreement to truly wake up, more so than just believing in something. Belief is an idea. Gods are ideas, actually, and Leo and Enki on this planet and others, the reptilians, they created all this. He created all these ideas. To see the movie Stargate with Kurt Russell, that's a good hint there. There's many movies that are very, very good hints about this. And so again, getting back to U.S. Constitution, whatever, because people have their feet on the ground. Most of what we're explaining here is pretty far out, but anyone can prove it to themselves. We're not making up stories here. We don't have to. It's all based upon what is actually taking place. And so everybody has a choice to see more and to recognize what's more so than just their physical reality. But if they stick with just the physical reality, then they got to deal with it. So in that regards, in that one-dimensional reference, then I recommend for those people in the United States, etc., and everybody's got to figure it out in the world, that they have this reference of the U.S. Constitution, but we'll see what happens. And it's not about rebelling or opposing the governments or whatever. It's all about agreement and awareness. That's really what it's about. But that's a huge learning curve, etc., like nothing else. So people have, they have their own abilities, etc., but there's a lot more to go to be able to have the ability to see through creation and to deal with it at the same time. Go ahead, Kevin. Was there anything else?
Yeah, in regards to the reptilian control systems throughout the simulator, with the Queen of Orion removed and put in the Phantom Zone, with the reptilian systems and hierarchy in somewhat of a disarray, how would this translate to situations throughout the simulator and the Earth specifically?
Well, again, as people become aware of what's taking place, it's like anything in our lives, as we become aware of what's going on, just like the situations here that we're confronting, that's been taking place actually since we've been on the planet, and it's just simply escalated, and now it's become more noticeable. That's all. It was always there. It was always hidden, very subtle, because you have these 5 bodies, and especially unconsciously, that's where you're tap lined in your astral body. Most people don't know that. They've got all these tap lines in their astral body, just like Neo in the Matrix when he first started to wake up there, and he was unplugged and he was thrown down the rabbit hole there. Then he started his journey, etc. It's a very good objective view of tap lining because it's very, very real. And until people notice that, well, they unconsciously don't. So they just look to their surface world. So, yeah.
I think perhaps now would be a good opportunity to perhaps define a tap lining for people who would be listening to this video.
Yeah, tap line is very simple. And, there can be good or bad tap lines. It just depends. There's a variety. So it's no different than plugging your toaster into the wall. That's a tap line to the toaster. And the toaster gets energy from that tap line. Okay, so we'll say, like Bill Murray would say in Ghostbusters, that's a good thing. Okay, so but then there are agreements to many things that people don't see that actually put holes in their aura and really impede them, and that is things like drugs, alcohol, abusive situations, etc. And the list goes on and on. And this is where the reptilians, they see how certain people are, and so they will tap line them, they will connect to them and suck their energy. And so this is where many times the individual needs more and more stimulants because they feel fatigued or they don't feel good, so they take a pill or they snort some drugs or they do whatever. They need more and more stimulants, or they'll, when they're going to work in the morning, they'll turn up the rock and roll music loud. That's a stimulant. But what they don't realize is that music's actually destroying their cells in their body. And so there's many avenues of this tap lining, and as people connect in certain ways with the experiences they're having in their physical body, because they have 4 other unseen bodies, and mainly the personal self that each person creates relates more to their sensations and their mind, but mainly their sensations. It's the idea that, oh, I feel good today, or I have this feeling about something. It's always the word feeling, they say, and it relates to their sensation. Well, this is where the reptilians and other creatures, and there's all different kinds, okay, like there are fish in the sea, they hook on to the individual's astral body because they like what that person is into. And so you'll have, just like when you see a nature film and you see, it could be a killer whale, or it could be one of the big blue or gray whales, they're swimming along, or it can be a shark. You got all these little fish stuck to the back or the underneath of the whale, etc. And it's the same thing with us as we go through. We don't notice because we're not taught. We're taught one-dimensionally here, and that's purposely done to be controlled. All indoctrination, all of it. It's made to look good. Oh, it looks like you're going to achieve something in college and all this stuff. No, actually, this is going to sound a little bit funny, but actually people are taught to become evil. And that's very, very real. And as you look at the so-called super educated of the world that are in prominent government places and other places, you see what's going on with this. Where does it really go? And these people get bored. So they start to do a lot of funny things. They start to create things, strange things, etc. And the public consciously takes this in, but unconsciously holds on to it and becomes tap line through the reptilians. All the governments of the world basically are at the mercy of the reptilians unseen. This is their unseen controllers, etc. And so, yeah, there are good aliens too, and we do converse with them, and a lot of them are changing sides right now too. And this is what the WorldKontrollers here don't like either. They see that going on. They don't like it. They threaten us all the time, etc. But they don't have the awareness to deal with it. All they can do is become angry, and all they can do is hurt people that are open to it. And so even when people protest, if they have an emotional attitude to protest or whatever, they're being tapped on. They're thinking in their mind that, oh, it's a good thing. Well, actually, it's not about good or bad, because basically they're the same thing. It's about what makes sense. And that is that, yes, do what you will without harming others is the basic idea. So whatever you do in your life, that's your business. But as it starts to move out, and there are those that like to control others, and so this is where we see many people in the financial world, the movie stars, etc., politicians, they're bought off because they want to control others. They like to get up there and be in the spotlight, to make themselves think that they are special, more so than others, etc. And that's fine. That's their choice. That's their right. Again, it's not about good or bad. But at the same time, what they're doing is they're influencing others to be influenced and to actually be tap-lined unconsciously. So there's a lot of information out there, but who is it that is talking about the real universes to see what is more so than beyond creation than anything? Well, that's because they don't know, can't recognize it. We do. And that becomes the big difference. So again, this is why the world is also upset, because they're bothered by, us here and others waking up too. They don't want to see that. They want that control. So, but again, when they destroy a person, that person will come back into future lifetimes, and they'll stick them in another body, and they'll robotize it even more. So it's constantly ongoing. And this is their challenge and their fun. They like it. They're risk takers is what they really are. They are real risk takers, and they got nothing else to do because otherwise they're bored. So they like the destruction. They like to watch people suffer. They really do, even though they give pretty speeches and whatever. And I'm not saying everybody. I mean, you learn to figure it out for yourself, each individual. But overall, there is a demise here that's taking place, like the black holes in the galaxies. That is unconscious agreement to deception and demise, and this is what is happening. And this creation bubble is imploding. And then those unaware little souls will go into the next one and start over again through who knows how many lifetimes before they wake up. So the opportunity is now with the new you, but it's a choice. It's a choice each person makes. Everybody has the right to choose.
Yes, in terms of the destruction that the reptilians are basically doing. I know you've had experiences, Kevin, with groups on the real side that go and look for the lights, the shining lights, you could say, the people that are ready to wake up, to contact them on the real side. The reptilians are doing the same in a way. They're looking for people who want to be or have a proclivity to be evil, you could say, or to consent to what they're doing with their control. So they being living for a long time. Those of you who don't know, the reptilians live for many, they could live for 1,000 or more years. They have this longevity ability. It's even in the Sumerian texts of old. If you buy into that, the Sumerian culture of long ago, they talk about the kings living 30,000 years. So if that is so, then the reptilians have this, in a way, bigger viewpoint, bigger up until like the astral level, physical astral. So they have a bigger viewpoint than the little human beings, so they can watch and see who's going to consent and who they can train to be on their side. So they have this advantage that they're taking and they can do certain things that the humans don't see, and then because of this longevity and the way they have people consent to them is the destroying part, to harm them, to use fear. In that way they get their consent, and that's just how they do it. That's their technique, and it's all because of the control that they want and what they think they need. But again, the real guides are here to give it another option for people, that they don't have to go down that road. There's you could say a better way, because it's to the benefit of each individual's survival, to make sense of things, become more aware. And that's what we're doing with this presentation.
All the documentaries and the movies that are available that pertain to what's going on in the world, what would you cite as being the sort of documentaries and movies that people should watch that have parallels with the secret space programs and secret service programs?
There's so many out there. I mean, it's just inundated, the networks. We're still lucky to have these things available because of the censorship, the fact finders, etc., that are coming in. But there's so many. You could just take a particular subject like UFOs or shadow government, and you'll find just lists and lists of documentaries, movies related to this. And that's why we're doing Reel to Reel, which is a weekly show we do to see and share how movies are being produced to show what is really going on. And we can get a lot from movies. But I would say just take a subject and then look it up, Google it, look it up, and see what documentaries and movies are related to that subject, because you can go on and on for a long time with studying this, and it's really not about that, but the knowledge is good, the information is good, but there's so much more to this that we're doing. But at the same time, yeah, get informed, get knowledgeable on what's going on, and then make it related to something that's going on now if you can, like we're doing with Sheriff Mack, because we're being squeezed more and more now with the mandates. So anything you might look up in that respect, see if you can relate it to what's going on now, and you'll probably be in better shape in terms of your survival.
Okay, and Duane, you spoke on previous episodes about how you were in various of these government bases and facilities where there were lots of aliens involved. I think a lot of people will be interested to know as to the specific aliens you may have encountered or know that are involved with the governments and the secret programs, because there was a lot of talk. I mean, there was a lot of videos that are probably still going out now that were produced by David Wilcock, where he spoke of these various species, and he mentioned such species as blue avians, mantises, and even raptor-like species of aliens that looked literally like the raptors you see as in Jurassic Park, but apparently were sentient and had a sort of hive mind collective consciousness. And so could you perhaps elucidate on the species that you're aware of that were involved, and if indeed there are these blue avians and these raptor creatures that were a part of this?
Yes, just about any color that you like, Kevin, is available. So, yeah, this stuff becomes intriguing. I know that when I was a youngster, I liked science fiction movies, and I would go to the movies every weekend. When I was a little guy there, when I was in third, fourth, fifth grade, etc., I go to the movies every weekend with my mom or whatever, and I always like the science fiction stuff. Come to find out, it's really more than that, and all these movies were produced by these individuals. And yes, you can name them off, this or that, or just like people on the street, Bill, Bob, Susie, Carol, Jim, whatever. They're Chinese, they're African, they're Vietnamese, they're Brazilian, etc. It's like that. Yes, species throughout all of creation, and yes, the underground tunneling has been going on, you might say, almost forever on this planet and other planets. This is also where you don't see a lot of surface activities, especially places like Mars, because of the wars they've had there and they're underground, etc. The moon, which is a built planet, it's almost like could be stainless steel, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the bases are on the other side of the moon. And yes, underground, they have the big trains. They have all kinds of stuff going on underneath the ground that you can't even imagine. And this is where, as the surface is being destroyed and annihilated, certain people are promised to be part of the remaining population, but with all the radioactivity and stuff on the surface here, basic humans are not going to be able to live. So those certain humans that are, very willing to be evil, like the WorldKontrollers, well, they get to live underground in tunnels and never see the sun again, and etc. And they do have places there that they have built, and there's areas in the earth, like there's openings at the North and South Pole, etc., and a lot of interesting stuff in there. Actually, there's a book called The Hollow Earth about Admiral Byrd's travels, etc. It's very, very interesting. And just like Disney's movie Journey to the Center of the Earth, etc. So anything that you can imagine is available. It is there. You just have to decide to look. And as you start to explore, etc., things will start to show up. But as a person just stays one-dimensional one-dimensional here and just tries to, just holds on to their personal life and wants to keep that going and doesn't want to see anything else. Well, for the most part, they're not until it shows up, until there's an alien invasion or something. And there's a lot of interesting things planned already. But numerous aliens underground, and they kidnap a lot of the surface people, like the monarchy does all the time, use them for torture ceremonies, eats them, etc., just like the pedophiles in Hollywood. All of this drinks the blood of children, etc. All this is just, this is the planet. It's a human farming planet. It has been marketed to be a la-la land, something unique and special amongst the cosmos, which it is. It's an awesome place. I'd rather be here. I've been on flying saucers and to other planets, etc. I don't find it interesting at all. I didn't take many trips, just a few, just to get the idea of it. And it's far out. It's a far out thrill, but really, I've got a lot to do on the Earth here, just being grounded right here. But a lot of people, they may like to just go fly around. Well, when you're in outer space, you're locked into the spaceship, or you need a spacesuit or something like that for the physical body. Very cumbersome, very boring, and going to other planets to meet aliens and stuff like that, not really that interesting. Just a lot of diplomacy and takeover stuff like you see at the governments of the world here. It's no different. It's just if you've seen Star Trek series or the movies or anything like that, it's just like that. And so there's always this confrontation, etc., because everybody's battling for position. That's the whole idea. Instead of waking up and become aware as to why you're here, you came here to become more aware, to be able to see the difference between creation and the real universes. But in the meantime, people have created all this stuff and technology and got all wrapped up in it. Actually, no one needs technology. You don't need it at all. Anybody can be telepathic. Anybody can learn to move through the ethers, etc. This could all be so as a person is trained, become more aware through all of creation itself, without disrupting the environment that supports you while you're here learning these things. But that's a little bit late now. This is where we're at in the game, and it's been going on for a long time. So again, just like in Star Trek, if you want to get into a spaceship, is the big push now is to go to Mars or whatever, and people think it's a big thrill. Well, they're going to find out that it's not a big thrill at all. It is not at all, unless you are looking to be some kind of hero where you come back and people applaud for you. Good luck, because that's all it is. It's really nothing. And you're very encumbered, and and if something goes wrong with the technology, just like in the movies, well, things happen, and there are other things happening too. And there's a lot of cloning going on in outer space too that's is not talked about. Again, they always promote this, just like you're going to go on vacation, they always promote this la-la land side to it, but it's all absolute control. And so when you go along with these programs or whatever, doesn't matter who you are, astronaut or whatever, you are controlled by the system because you agreed to it. So realistically, I grew up as a surfer, started surfing at 14 and became a pro surfer in the 60s, loved surfing, liked my construction business too, besides what I was doing with the ISSS and the surveillance and all that. Etc. I prefer the earth. I prefer the earth, or the oceans, the beaches, the sky here, the sun shining, etc. You're not going to get that in outer space. You're not going to get that underground, etc. And it's really kind of sad because all the chemtrails and all the poisoning of this planet, how they've devastated it more and more. It's really time for a big wake up. But people have to decide, and it's not going to just happen. And it's not going to happen from the governments of the world because they're the ones destroying it. And that's just how it is. Again, this is a human farming planet. People can pretend whatever they want in their heads, but just look around, you'll see exactly what's going on. And no matter what you decide or how you want it different, this is it. So as you become more aware, you can better deal with it and handle it. But if you want to stay one-dimensional, then you have to deal with yourself and your unawareness and be the effect of everything around you. So again, the right to choose. You have the choice. Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, I was going to ask what planets and species specifically did you visit? And your purpose, of course, would be overall to wake them up. But what success, if any, did you have in this endeavour? And then what resulted from that?
Well, again, it's an ongoing process, and more so on the real side first than just physical. Physical is very hard, just like here. We have these Skypes. As an example, Abe and I have been on Facebook for 8 years. 8 years. And so the end result is, you know, if we have 20 people on a Skype, that's huge, all right, compared to the world and what other people are drawing in from whatever, you know, whatever they're marketing, etc. And so we're showing how to people how to become more aware and free themselves from creation, etc. Most people aren't interested. And just like the space people and whatever, that communication with them, I didn't really do that to have the communication with them too much. I could hear their thoughts and stuff like that, but it's just boring dribble. For the most part, they're, again, these individuals, and when I was had the opportunity to do this, it was, you know, it's this maintaining this agendas that's constantly going on because everybody's in fear. And, you know, the funny thing is the people that are doing all this, the creatures, whatever, the body types, I'll say, whatever body type, alien or human or whatever, fish or bird, whatever body type you have, you know, it's all based on fear. They are really afraid themselves. It's like they're afraid they can't get enough. And so they keep wanting more because they don't know what else to do. It's like the struggle for their survival to survive is even more so. So they got to have everything. And that's where you see it in the world today. You got these people that are from the financial system, so-called wealthy, etc. And even if they're billionaires and more so, it's never enough for them. And what do they do with that? They just go out there and glorify themselves in the limelight, while at the same time, the world is dying. It is literally dying, being burnt up, destroyed, poisoned, etc. And so again, you know, the conversing with people, just like even when Val and I talk to people about the natural environment, for the most part, they don't want to hear about it. They got their own agenda going. They got their own head thing going. They're drinking their Coke and eating their potato chips, and all they're doing is listening to themselves crunch and slurp. You know, that's their thrill. And until something else happens and they got to confront it, of course, then they won't know what to do. It's like, gee, what is happening? Okay, there are space people coming down, and what do I do? Run and hide. Yeah, whatever. So the stuff, I look for sincerity in people. Otherwise, if they're just going to be ho-hum, then it gets kind of boring. I'd rather just go off and walk the beach or something. But I don't want to just sit there and jabber. And the aliens are the same thing. They just like to jabber about themselves. There's no difference. There's no difference. They're just in a different body type. That's all. It's just a different body type. After a while, it's like it all becomes the same thing. It just appears different, and it's not interesting. It seems to be interesting at first, but actually, a lot of these people, they just, if they can, they will possess you. But it just depends upon your awareness and your acceptability, etc., and what you're capable of knowing and doing. So I was very protected at this time to go on these things, and so But I'm not interested. That was many years ago. It's all boring stuff. I can just move my awareness anywhere, and that's real. And I'd rather have my awareness in the real universes and without anybody at all, not being encumbered at all without anybody. So, but while I'm here, I have to deal with the world because I do have a body. So as long as I'm here, I want to do something that really makes sense instead of just sitting here watching the world die like it is.